Sorry, we got cut off by the vagaries of Zoom there. As far back as we can remember, we were talking about what does Richard think about the Book of the Law? Is it valid, or is it just another one of Crowley's bad poems?
Both. Contained within the Book of the Law, there are about half a dozen statements, of which are razor sharp observations of the new Aeon, what it's going to do and how to get at it. And Crowley, he didn't get it. Simple as that. And he didn't get it because he lived in the, whenever he lived in 18 whatever. Edwardian, Victorian, whatever. But he had Crowley lived in today's world, you would have been talking to him now, discussing what he calls the Horus toy. I don't know what he would have called it. He would have probably given it some ridiculous Baroque title. Yeah, some kind of
Egyptian hieroglyphics.
He would indeed, as delivered unto flipping some preterhuman entity.
Now that's another thing I need to ask you. What is your view of preternatural entities? Do you believe in them?
Right. Okay. Here's a thought. Here's a thought for you. Way back in 1995, I got involved with an experiment to assess channelers, psychics, mediums, whatever you want to call them. So basically, we had a crystal skull, one of those fabulous ancient carved by aliens from Cirrus crystal skulls. So we invited, we placed a fairly open invite for professional psychics to come and channel this crystal skull and speak with aliens and give us a bit of advice for mankind, that sort of thing. Come on, get yourself down. Get your
what year was this, Richard?
Probably about mid-90s.
2012?
Oh God, no, mid-1990s through to.
Oh God, wow.
Oh, it's going back a bit. That's when I still had hope and optimism and that kind of stuff. But anyway, we went through thousands of psychics and mediums and channelers and the like, yeah. And they all spoke to various entities within the crystal skull. And what struck me was that not one of them had the slightest difficulty communicating. You see, after a while, what I wanted to hear was the psychic who said, well, I'm speaking to a benevolent conclave of gaseous entities from Orion, but I just don't understand what they're saying. Yeah. And for me, that told me a very important lesson about the objectivity of preterhuman entities. Yeah. And I struggle. I do struggle with that, especially one that flaps in on your bloody honeymoon with a kiss me AWAS hat and a bloody.
It's honestly like a Jesus and Joseph and Mary.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's just too perfect. And that probably sounded horrible. Yeah, and honestly, the more this was something that kind of interested me. Thelema was supposed to be the new religion, the sunrise of Crowleyanity and all that. It just hasn't. No one has really understood what the fuck he was on about.
And I think the reason for that is because he saw something. He saw something that we're experiencing today. And he tried to describe it using an obsolete language, an obsolete mindset. And he described Horus as it appeared at the dying end of Osiris. I'm talking about sort of Aeonic succession here.
Yeah. We could
And
maybe go back and cover that, but carry on.
he couldn't hope, he didn't have a hope in hell of describing accurately the conditions that we live in today. He did his best, all credit to him. He did his best, but basically, irrespective of any of the kind of points raised in Bogus, the ultimate question is, does Thelema work? And the answer is no.
No, it doesn't.
If it worked, it wouldn't matter a fuck where it came from. It's like, well, who cares where it came from? It's here. It works. Try it. But it doesn't. In fact, my experience has been that it generates nothing but discord, backbiting, and a whole.
I mean, the dynamic of the beast and the Scarlet Woman, obviously, you know, ethics, and I don't know. I don't believe in lodge magic at all. I think it gets culty. You want to find your own. I don't think you should need to do it in a group. I think you need to find your own enlightenment.
It's waiting for you. And I think that the biggest problem that Thelemites have in attempting to connect with that great beyond is Crowley's system, because that puts a bloody great wall between them and that which they seek. You see, Crowley said that the low is for all, but he put a toll booth on it, but you can only get at it through me. Tickets available here.
Of course.
And it's like, come on, really, just tell them the fucking truth.
But he didn't know the absolute truth. He didn't understand what had happened to him in 1904.
No, I don't think he ever did. And he couldn't. And that is why of all Crowley's many fads and whims, he stuck with that revelation, because I think he sensed that something unprecedented had happened to him. But unfortunately, with every time he retold it and elaborated it, he got further and further away from it's like, whoa, forget this
is what
shit.
happens when you start to tell lies.
Exactly. And simple fact is, as Crowley's system is taught, is published, it don't work. Crowley fucked up. Simple as that. You can't blame him. He didn't have a hope in hell of getting it right, but to set his ideas in concrete and still to be ramming them down people's throats today, I find is offensive. It really, it's like, come on.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Crowley's star of the Western occult system, that is slipping. I'm an observer of the occulture, and it's all about grimoires and Jake Stratton Kent nowadays. And may I just say, God bless you, Jake. May you recover and return soon. Sorry, what was I talking about there?
You're talking about grimoires.
Yeah, grimoires.
And Jake Stratton Kent.
Yeah, and Jake Stratton Kent, which doesn't really. So let's concentrate the rest of our talk on the Aeon of Horus specifically. You could maybe go into the background of Crowley's Aeonics anyway, and then tell me about the Aeon of Horus, because that's what the new book's about.
Okay. Crowley, despite kind of forcing his scheme into like almost like an astrological thing where you get a new Messiah every 2,165 years, I think it is. That's the same scheme that
The
Jesus was
great
playing.
year, yeah.
The great equinox, all that kind of stuff. The Egyptians were quite big on that sort of thing. So, despite framing his ideas around that, Crowley insisted there had only previously been 2 aeons, that of Isis and that of Osiris. And he went on to give a fairly accurate description of these 2 eons. And I think what he was trying to say is this: a few million years ago, our species was no different to any other species in there. It just did it. It was at one with nature. And then we did something that no other animal, to our knowledge, has managed.
Like a genetic leap.
So something happened. Who knows what happened? But we got the quality of self-consciousness, of introspection, of living outside the moment, which no other species. And for my money, that describes the moment we were cast out of Eden. Because at that moment,
absolutely,
we were cast out from everything else by virtue that we could think.
Yeah, and we could rebel, and I'm all for us eating the apple, man.
It's yes, indeed, and that kind of historical blur marks the moment the Aeon of Isis started. We attained the faculty of self-awareness.
Yeah, so that's when men discovered that babies were produced by them.
That's only about 50 millennia later.
That's a Terence McKenna idea. I've heard him say, oh, I've got red hair, that kid's got red hair, he's my son. And that was the start of the Aeon of Osiris.
Well, I agree. I suspect that somewhere on a hill somewhere in I don't know, somewhere near Egypt, an attentive shepherd, because you have to know that back then these things weren't connected. There was no connection between male semen and female pregnancy.
Yeah, it seems bizarre, but
you cannot imagine. But anyway, an attentive shepherd must have noted, hang about a minute, the ones with all the dangly bits that get mixed with the ones with the single dangly bit produce all the little ones. And he must have made that connection between something the male does that produces the children. At that moment, the age of Osiris was born, which is all about big phallic monuments and all that testosterone. And the world we've lived in for all our lives, we've lived in it for the last, 8 millennia, but now it's over because evolution.
When you said 8 millennia, when you said Crowley was the most important man in 10 millennia, I was like, that doesn't make sense. But now you're saying it kind of does.
It's because nobody else has spotted the changes, the moments in our history, the almost unimaginably rare moments when evolution cranks us up a gear, and he spotted it. Yeah. I mean, all right, he made a pig's ear of describing it, but for fuck's sake, he spotted it. Nobody else did.
So we are evolving as a species. I've always believed that. You know, I was into William Burroughs and stuff when I was younger, and that was his idea that we are evolving towards something, and magic somehow helps it along.
Here's my theory. The paranormal, be whatever flavor you've experienced, be it a ghost or I don't know, whatever, the paranormal serves as signposts towards our next phase of global evolution. It's something, if you equate it to, as I think I did in the book, if you equate it to puberty.
Yeah, you did. You totally used
that. When a person goes through puberty, everything changes, and humanity as a whole is going through a change akin to puberty. And if you want a really, really obvious and simple illustrator of this, look at the way the millennia-old gender stereotypes of male and female have just been swept aside.
Absolutely.
And that is one consequence of what Crowley described as Horus. But it's real.
Because, Horus hasn't formed his gender identity yet, because he's just a little baby.
Indeed, he's a very petulant little fucker as well.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm beginning to wonder if we're actually going to live through his reign.
It
does like Nero.
It does make you wonder, because certainly the first generation of what I call the Horus children have kind of mashed up Crowley's mantra of "do what thou wilt" into "do what the fuck I want," and with a kind of prefix of "fuck you," and that bothers me.
What was it you called the woke flake generation? I had to have a little old man giggle at that, because that's unacceptable politically now, to call people woke flake.
I do apologize. I could think of much worse things to call them, but you see, I speak from someone whose DNA was born in the Osirian era, Aeon.
Yeah, I think mine too. I think mine too. I don't know.
And what I see happening, whilst I fully acknowledge this is the way forward for whatever reasons, this is the future, I don't necessarily have to like it. And I feel that a lot of what I'm seeing, especially with regard to this gender transition stuff, I feel that a lot of it is going off on a very, very dangerous tangent. But there you go.
Yeah, well, that's a very controversial subject that I'm going to stay there.
Get some.
Have you seen Twitter recently? I don't even have an account. So what should we expect from the obviously has now dawned Aeon of Horus?
Okay.
What's going to happen to us?
Here's a prediction for you. At some point in the near future, the world of science will announce the discovery of a new component of human reproduction. And I can't be more specific than that, because I haven't yet figured it out myself. But that, as a consequence of the kind of theory that I've kind of formulated, that must happen. Of course, you've got the fact that the new Aeon throne is still vacant. No one's claimed it yet. So you're getting all sorts of people like Putin.
God, yeah, fuck's sake, Ukraine. Who thought you'd see another war in Europe?
Exactly. But I don't know whether Putin is aware of Crowley, but he's sensing.
I'm sure he is, man.
Yeah, that the new Aeon is happening, and he has got a chance to get some real power behind him. I don't know, maybe even start World War III. You just don't know. But that's what's so exciting about Horus. It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, since I actually saw the Aeon of Horus as the summer of love in the 60s, that was, I think
that was its wet dream.
You went from a very uptight 40s and 50s to suddenly, with exposure to an entheogen, a whole generation just went fucking wild and almost overturned the government of the United States of America.
Those were the days.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore, of course. We have just confused, bewildered, poor people wondering about me being one of them.
Well, join the club, because life in Britain at the moment, I do not remember in living memory.
And I don't even really remember the 70s, but
they were dire. Yeah. They were dire.
Yeah. Are you from Yorkshire, by the way?
Yes, I'm a dour old Yorkshireman.
Yeah, I heard it. I love Yorkshiremen. They're full of tales.
Full of tales, yes. If God developed hemorrhoids, he would do so in Yorkshire, of that I'm sure.
Yeah, good, honest people. So, Richard, I think that might be a good place to end it. You've been absolutely fantastic. You've stuck with me through technical troubles. I love your books. I'll put. Do you have a link for your new book? The what's it called again?
666 Sex and the New Aeon of Horus.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the one after that. But let's not get carried away.
The Paranormal Decided. That's I'm afraid that's not out yet.
Okay, right. So we'll just go for 666 Sex and the New Aeon of Horus.
I'll
put a link in the bottom of my description, but it's honestly, I would totally recommend both books. Fantastic.
Well, it's been emotional.
It's been great, actually, because we've had so many frustrating, I can't hear you, I can't see you. So, yeah, one of my favorite interviews of all time, I have to say, because you're a very cool man. So I'll stop this now and I'll see you soon, buddy.
If you could send me a link to the podcast, I would be grateful. Then I can stick it on my Facebook page.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Spread the good word.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you were very, what's the word? You were very elegant tonight, sir.